Hello YouTube, Dave here again, and in this video we're going to do sort of an unboxing and a preliminary review of the Arena of the Planeswalkers Battle for Zendikar expansion pack. So this is the first expansion for the Arena of the Planeswalkers board game, tactical miniatures board game that came out. The original came out I think in October. This just released, well actually I'm not entirely sure when this released because I've seen different dates. I've seen December of 2015 on there. My understanding is that it wasn't supposed to release until January, and I just found this a couple of days ago, and I think it's the 25th of January when I'm doing this recording, so unfortunately I don't have the exact release date, but I bought this here. It cost about $40 Canadian. The original that I picked up was only about $45, but I think again the difference is the Canadian dollar has dropped, unfortunately, a fair amount since then. I'm not sure what the U.S. price is. I think it's either $19.99 or $24.99. I'm not exact on that, unfortunately, since there's no actual price printed on here. But we'll go over basically the contents and see what's in here. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get it unboxed. Alright, so the first thing I kind of want to point out is the box itself. I'm a little disappointed with the packaging that this one comes with. Like the original box, as you see here, you know, it's a nice size, but it's got one of the lids you can just kind of lift off and access all the contents inside. This one here has the tabs that you have to open up, and the plastic tray basically slides out. Another thing is that the cardboard, I don't know how well it's going to pick up on the camera with the light, but the cardboard feels a lot cheaper as well. It's that, you know, corrugated cardboard, as you can kind of see here. Hopefully this will show up, but it's like the thicker corrugated cardboard, unlike the other stuff here, which is kind of just the thicker cardstock. One of the reasons I'm not a big fan of this packaging is it makes putting the stuff back in a little bit difficult. Like the plastic tray was going to constantly be butting up against the tab on the inside of the bottom of the box. And the other things that come with it, which would be, you know, the rule booklet and the cards here, they're supposed to go in behind the plastic tray. So when you've got them in behind the plastic tray and it's catching on the bottom tab here, there's a chance that it could damage the rule book. It could damage the bottom of the plastic tray. What I've actually had to do is cut there's one of those little stickers to keep it sealed. I had to cut that so that when I put the contents back in, I end up having to open up the bottom tab, slide everything in, and then close it. So it's a little bit frustrating that way, unfortunately. It feels a little bit cheaper in terms of the quality. So it's kind of a minor nitpick, but I just wanted to mention that. So, but anyway, aside from the box itself, let's have a look at what comes inside the box. So it comes with quite a few different figures, not nearly as much as the original game, but it does come with a nice assortment. Each faction, or each color, however you want to look at it, in the game does have new units that they can utilize. Some, like the blue and the white, only get a single model added to their repertoire. The green gets 2, and red and black both get 3 models each. So those are squads. These here are a squad of vampires, a squad of goblins, and a squad of a couple of elves. The blue creature and the white creature are what are known as hero characters, which are unique and higher point total cost, and tend to be tougher than the squad creatures, I guess, as well as a few of the new colorless models, so they could belong to any factions, and they are I want to make sure I pronounce this right, the Eldrazi. So there's a couple of different versions there, including so the little ones here are the let's have a look here, Eldrazi Scions, and the big guy down here is the Eldrazi Ruiner. Now you may notice that some of these do not come completed. So the Ruiner, for example, has the arm disconnected or detached. Then you have to assemble that yourself. So I'm going to actually have that lead into another one of my sort of nitpicks, I guess, with the packaging, is just how tightly packed some of these things are in here and how difficult they are to get out. So the Ruiner, which is probably the biggest single, most solid piece of plastic in here, is still exceptionally tightly packed in there, and I'm kind of worried about damaging the tray itself. I do like to use original packaging as much as I can, but basically with this you just kind of pop the arm into place and the unit's assembled. Now obviously when you go to put it back in, it won't fit in the box unless you detach the arm again. So at that point you're kind of left with the question of, do you want to use the tray that it comes in, or do you want to use something else? Normally I like to use the trays that the stuff come in, but this isn't the only one that requires any sort of assembly, unfortunately. The Eldrazi Scions, or Scions, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, unfortunately. They also have to be attached to the bases. So the bases come in a separate bag, and you would attach them somehow. I guess each one probably has its own unique base based off of the spacing, because the sculpts are, again, they are different, so not 100% sure how they're gonna go in there, but that's something I guess I can figure out. I'm not worried about assembling them now, but they do have to be plugged into the bases themselves. So in addition to those two, this unit here, oh no, I guess the wings are actually already attached to it. So the instructions show you having to, they do show you having to plug those in, but they're already attached, so that's probably good, and it fits in there quite nicely. Now the other units, unfortunately, the Eldrazi Scions, are not going to fit in the holder with the bases on, so again you're going to have to look at removing the bases and putting them back on if you want to use this here. Or if you have your own thing, then obviously you're going to probably just leave them plugged into the bases. The concern that I have with this is if you don't have something else to carry them in, there is a chance that eventually they're going to get damaged from repeatedly attaching or deattaching the various pieces. I mean, the arm here does feel pretty solid. It's actually pretty hard to get back out as well. So I mean, this is the one that I'm worried the least about, but when it comes to these little guys here, they just kind of plug in with a little tab at the bottom here, and there's a chance that if you keep pushing them in and pulling them out, it's eventually going to break. So I'm a little concerned about that. Not a huge deal breaker, but it would have been nice if they could have packaged them in a way that all the pieces were properly assembled. So in addition, with the tight packaging, another one that I was really concerned about is you got your two Planeswalkers here. Now the blue one, or I guess she's a blue-green merfolk, she comes out quite easily, and I was happy with how easily she came out. This one down here, who's just a pure black Planeswalker, Obnixilis, I think is his name. He was a lot more difficult to get out. I don't know how well it's going to show up, but these plastic tabs are holding the wings in by quite a bit. So at the first time I opened this up, and even now it's being kind of difficult with me. I'm really concerned about damaging the figure as I go to remove it. So I'm actually going to leave him in there, I think, for now. Well, that one just kind of fell out, but let me just see how long it takes to get this guy out here. So just I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back. It took me probably about a good minute to pull this guy out of the packaging because I was worried about, again, I don't want to damage anything, I don't want to break one of the wings off, and you kind of have to pull away, like pull the tabs kind of away. Even when I had one wing free, it still took me a good 20 seconds or so to get the other one out. So very kind of difficult to pop in and out, so I'm probably going to have to look at finding an alternate means of transporting these things around. I popped a few other ones out as well. Again, some of them were very problematic, so I didn't remove all the figures, but we'll just have a quick look at some of them here, and I'll save the kind of the close-up of the Planeswalkers sort of for last. But the units that they have now, the red units are Goblin Javelineers, and there's 3 of them. So 3 different models come with this. Again, they're all painted, or not painted, they're all sculpted differently, so that they don't all 3 look the same. which is something that's nice to see that kind of carry over. So that's the red unit. This is a squad unit, so you get the 3 units, or the 3 models that go with this unit. You can summon all 3 at the same time, and they cost, each of the additional units in this game cost 100 points each, regardless of if they're squads or newly introduced heroes. So this is one of the squad creatures. I'm just going to try to pop him back in. Close enough. The black units are Malakar Blood Chasers, and again, they are a vampire squad. 3 units, or three models come with this. All 3 are, again, sculpted differently. And they're kind of neat because they have the lifelink ability, so for each point that they deal to a creature, they get to remove a damage counter off of the individual squad creature, which is pretty cool. So I do like that. And I guess they get an extra bonus to attacking, or they do extra damage if they're attacking something that's already wounded. So they're pretty cool. And again, they were 100 points. Now the green have the Path Wardens, and there's only 2 of them, but they are also a squad. So instead of having like the standard squad of 3, this is a squad of 2. And their main ability is that each small or medium creature that you control that are adjacent to a Path Warden can only be attacked in melee. Basically, you can't use ranged abilities against them. They're protected by the Path Warden. So they're kind of cool as well. Again, for the extra 100 points. And then we come to our 2 heroes. So these are individual units that are worth 100 points each in this expansion. They're both medium sized. So the first one, I guess we'll have a look at the core Aeronaut Captain. So this is the only addition to the White Army in this expansion. So it's got the wings here, which are a separate piece. Thankfully, they came attached in this version of it. So they can fly. The hero creatures are pretty much as tough as the Planeswalkers. So this one has like 6 life points, for example, whereas most squad creatures have 2 or 3. And it's got a few different abilities. I'm not going to go really into anything in particular at this point, but they can fly, so they ignore terrain. If they start on a high elevation and then move down from it, then they actually get extra speed. And they have a few other abilities as well. So they're pretty cool if you like the White Army. This is the only thing that gets added to that, unfortunately. But it is pretty cool, and again, it's a nice big tough unit. So, and for the blue, you've got the Merfolk Royal Mage. So they have the ability to move through water without stopping. So normally, if you come to any section of water in the base game, your unit has to stop. These ones can continue to move through water. And if a friendly unit moves past them, like through a space adjacent to them as they're moving, even if they go through a space of water, they can do it without having to stop their movement. So that's kind of their abilities. Again, they've got 6 life, 4 attack, and 3 defense. The Aeronaut Captain has 6 life, 6 attack, and 3 defense. So they're obviously much tougher than your standard creatures, so they can take more hits, and for the extra 100 points. Now, the way the game's introduced now, the default point total goes from 500, which is in the base game, to 600. So you can basically add each of these units to the existing factions in the original game, and they'll fit in perfectly because it's the extra 100 points. But so those are those ones there. And now we come to our Planeswalkers. So first we have, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but I think it's Koira, the Rising Tide. So she is a merfolk, and she's actually considered both blue and green. So she's multicolored, meaning that, and if you look at her card there, everything's got a sort of gold background to it, instead of like, the white for the white creatures, or blue for blue, for example. So they got sort of the gold background. She's got an ability similar to the Merfolk Royal Mage, so she doesn't have to stop when she enters water. Carry by wave. So at the start of her turn, you can move a creature you control up to 4 spaces, And the looks like Bident of Thassa is an ability once per game. When Koira ends her turn in a water space, you may reveal the top 2 cards of your library, put a sorcery from among them into your hand, and the rest at the bottom of your library in any order. So she kind of has an ability that lets you kind of draw cards and or arrange how you want some of the ones that aren't necessarily as great to be ordered. So that's pretty cool. She's got 6 life, 4 attack, and 4 defense. So that's the blue one. The paint job is not bad. A little bit of shading and stuff kind of went into this one. Only the 2 colors, right? The blue and sort of the coppery color. But it looks pretty decent. I don't know how well it's going to. There we go. It's pretty much on par. Like the paint jobs in this set for the 2 painted figures are pretty much on par with what they had in the base game. So nothing exceptional, but they're not awful at the same time. And then of course the last one here, we already sort of looked at him, is Ob Nixilis, I think is how it's pronounced. So he's just he's black. So he's not multicolored like the other one, but he's got 8 health, 5 attack, 4 defense, so he can fly as well, so he ignores obstacles. And he has an ability called At Any Price. So destroy target squad creature adjacent to Ob Nixilis. Its controller draws a card. You can use this ability once per turn. So basically, if he's being attacked by squad creatures, if you activate him, he can destroy one of them flat out, but the owner, whoever had their unit destroyed, they do get to draw one of their spell cards. So I kind of like the paint job on this one. Again, it's not exceptional, but there's a little bit more to it than the other one. There's, kind of sort of like a purple, a red, and the silver color. And, again, they did a pretty decent job on it. Not so much translucent stuff that's evident in this one. Like the other one here has sort of the translucent water at the bottom. But a nice looking figure, pretty cool commander. Haven't had a chance to play any of these yet, so I don't really know how any of these play, but they do look pretty cool. Now the Eldrazi cards, so we got the Scions and the Ruiner, with all their different abilities. So they are colorless, so they have like the purple color, so they can be used by any faction. And they've obviously got their point cost down here. The Ruiner, 8 life, 6 attack, and 3 defense, and that's actually hero creature as well. And the Scions are sort of a squad creature. Now this guy, he can actually destroy. He can destroy one of these Scions for either a boost to a speed, so +4 movement, or +2 attack. So he, like the Ruiner, can do that. The Ruiner can also deal 1 damage to himself to summon another Scion as well. So it's kind of a way that you can continuously boost up the Ruiner, which is pretty cool. Again, haven't played this yet, not quite sure how it's going to ultimately work. But the units themselves actually do look pretty cool. No real gripes. I think that white and blue kind of got a bit of a raw deal, where they've only got a single creature. But I was glad to see that at least everybody got something. Initially, I was worried that it was just going to be units specific to the Planeswalkers in here. So it's nice to see that there's some things that can be used by anyone, and that each of the factions did at least get something. And the points are even, so it's not like one faction really got more points worth of models than any other one. So that seems pretty decent. We'll have to see again how they actually play out. But for now, I'm kind of happy with the way it turned out, because it could have gotten a lot worse, obviously, if it was just some things for Nixilis and Koira, for example. Now, in addition, each faction also ends up getting more spell cards, and it looks like it's around 65 to 70 points worth of spells for each of the colors. I haven't really had a chance to look at the spell cards too much, but I'm sure some of them would be sort of a nice addition to the base game. None of them look particularly bad. There's a few that at first glance looked really kind of powerful and broken, like the one that gives Death Touch. Now, I didn't read it fully first time, so I thought Death Touch meant that anything, a creature with this on it, had, if it took a single point of damage, was automatically killed. It only applies to squad creatures, so sort of like the minion types, but it's still kind of a powerful ability. Luckily, it only lasts for one turn. And then, you've got your red cards. The spell cards aren't that bad. One here, the green one, for example, Earthen Arms, I think is sort of a missed opportunity because it says remove up to 2 damage markers from a friendly hero creature, and then that creature gets +2 attack until the end of the turn. The issue with that is that green didn't actually get a hero. So white got a hero and blue got a hero. So this particular card works mostly with Koira, or if you were using the green army and had the Eldrazi Ruiner. But as far as if you're just playing a straight set of green creatures, this card is kind of useless to you at this point. I mean, hopefully there'll be future expansions that have a hero for the green army, but right now that one's kind of, doesn't really super fit in unless you're using Koira with the Merfolk Royal Mage. So other than that, I mean, that's all the contents. I'm not sure how I feel about the fact that this was a $40 purchase. You do get, a few figures, which is nice. I don't mind that. But for only about $5 more, you ended up getting more variety from the base game. Now I know that the dollar has changed, so that's gonna have a big impact on what the price was. This is pretty much all that comes with the game. However, it's just the figures, their squad cards, 3 magic cards for each faction, and the rule book, which is literally 4 pages, and that's it. Now there's a really cool scenario for 3 to 4 players, where you have one player control a super beefed up version of the Eldrazi Ruiner, and the other players kind of work together to defeat him. But nothing else, as cool as that scenario is, it's the only scenario that comes with it. And there's no other pieces, like it's the cards and the figures. So it would have been nice to have seen maybe a few more dice, even if it was like 4 or 6 more attack dice, or the dice you roll for when you do your attacks. It would have been nice to have seen some of those. It would have been nice to even have maybe a few extra pieces of the plastic terrain, or failing that, have a few new versions of like just the flat cardboard terrain tiles. But nothing like that comes with the game, so that's a little bit disappointing as far as what you get for the amount that I paid here in Canada. If you're in the US, it's probably not going to be as big of a deal because it's significantly cheaper. So I mean, for the $20 to $25, whatever it is down there, this is an excellent deal. The fact that this is only $5 less than what the base game was in Canada, you might want to think a little more closely about picking it up, unless you know for sure you're going to get some use out of it. Again, those extra pieces would have been nice if there was something more than just the figures. It would have been nice to see some new terrain, maybe a new 3D terrain piece, like either one of the plastic pieces or even one of the cardboard ones that you kind of fit together. Would have been nice, and again, the packaging would have been a little bit better if it was, again, the lid that you can lift off instead of the tabs, and the really cheap feeling corrugated cardboard. But people don't tend to buy it for the packaging. The extras would have been nice, but what you get here does seem to be pretty decent. I don't have a final review of it as of yet because I haven't seen any of these in action. I'm hoping to get a chance to play these using these units here relatively soon, and hopefully I'll be able to record that video, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I won't be as horribly thrashed as I was in the last one. But for now, if you live in the US, I think it's a no-brainer to go pick it up for $20. If you're living in Canada, you may want to be a little more conservative with your money. But at the same time, if you like the game, I'm sure it'll be worth it if you get a chance to play it frequently. The amount that I get to play out of it, the $40, I'm kind of on the fence about how much that was. But all in all, everything that comes in there is pretty decent. It would have been just nice to have a few extra things for the money, basically. But that's it for this video. I hope it helped clarify a few things as to what comes in it, what doesn't come in it, and other things. Again, I'm hoping to have a gameplay video done relatively soon. within the next few days, and we'll be back hopefully to releasing at least a video every week from this point forward. So thank you all very much again for your patience and for watching this, and I hope you have a great day.